think I'm gonna buy lots of things in Australia
Why?
because there's lots of bands I like, and there's like limited sneakers that I want to buy here.
Things are expensive here.
Like Melbourne limited sneakers.
We're in Sydney.
What?
We're in Sydney.
Sydney, I don't care.
Okay.
It's the Opera House. Got my $6 lemonade. Felix. Oh, that's Felix.
You haven't met Felix.
I never met him.
You never in person?
Only on Zoom.
No way.
He looks like Post Malone, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, yawn. Lovely to see you.
Finally.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all your support of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Especially for the occasion. Yeah, I'll leave that with you.
Like 2 audience so far. It's very selected.
Yeah.
Have they let people in yet? That's not reassuring.
That's not good.
Uh-huh.
It's early.
Well, it's still a bit early. A little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We have 20 minutes.
Yeah. Maybe the Q&A number of people will be more than the audience.
Yeah.
What you've just missed is me crouching by the service elevator over there and my circulation cutting out, so I'm here. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I'm here, but I'm still in chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you still want me to...
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
Do you want ice?
Oh man, last month my bill came today, and it was like $2,000, like so fucking expensive in Canada. And my income yearly is like $6,000, so I used 33% of my income
On bagels.
last month on bagels. Can you believe it? That's awful.
But we're already in October. Depends on how much you spent the first 10 months of the year.
Stores in here.
Yeah.
If you press down on it, they should come out for you. Yeah, they should come out for you.
We should have bought it after this meeting started.
You can do the intro with this stuff.
What is this stuff here?
If you want.
Shit, this thing comes out like oil.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ariel Sabankani. I'm one of the screening programmers here at South by Southwest Sydney. Please welcome back to the stage Director Daisuke Miyazaki. I want to start with the obvious, which is to say, maybe for people unfamiliar with ex-Nikkei, who are ex-Nikkei and how did you encounter their music? And then beyond that, how do you go from that to sort of building an entire film around their record and sort of, creating this world? How did this project come about in this way?
Should I explain in English? So there's a musician called Ide Kensuke who released a psychedelic rock album, I think 4 years ago, and his album was called the Executive and the Poltergeist. I was a big fan of them, and I brought the plot of this story to a production company, and then they said, "Oh, we have the right of X and Katie, so do you want to use it in your movie? They are a really big cinephile as well, so we kind of exchanged scripts, and also like they were at the editing and the sound design and everything, and let's say 80% of the music inside the movie was re-recorded by them after watching the rush of the daily of the movie.
This is your first time working with the sort of the romance genre, and at the same time, I think there's something very mellow and angsty and sort of strange and off kilter about the film, and you know, knowing you a little bit, I would think maybe that's maybe a reaction to the normal Japanese romantic comedy or the normal Japanese romance. How did you approach the genre? Is my assumption correct? I wonder why, knowing you, I wonder why you made this movie, and I would love to hear your take.
Okay, so I really love American teenage movies, but it doesn't work in Japan, was what everyone said, and but I really wanted to try it all the time, and for the first 30 minutes, I saw I should do something a little bit like Japanese typical teenager drama, so that the producers could watch it and say, oh, he could do this kind of a movie, we can offer him a job. But actually, the part that jumped inside the story, like when they meet and they kiss each other, after that is where Japanese typical dramas are focusing on. But I'm not interested in that, whatever happy time of them, so I jumped out of it. And then suddenly they're already like about to break up, right? So that part was kind of like unlike in Japan, typical audience, but also they kind of understood that I intentionally jumped it, right? So, and then for me, the important part was the later 1.5 hour, which was like the COVID era, which I personally lost lots of memories, and I couldn't believe waking up every day because I got COVID like 3 or 4 times during the time, and that kind of like stretched and mellow time was the thing that I really wanted to describe.
And how did the film go over in Japan?
Many people said it was, we didn't expect it was good. We thought Daisuke sold his soul to the teenage love drama, but it wasn't, so it was good, yeah.
Good, I'm glad. You strike me a bit as also kind of almost like an ethnographer in this way, in the way that you make films. Every time I watch them, I kind of learn something new about a place, in this case Nagoya, or about sort of Japanese, you know, kind of teenage angst and feelings, and there's something very particular in the experience of watching your films, and that they kind of bring me somewhere that I don't encounter in other Japanese films. I know you're from Yamato, and you made an entire film about that, which is kind of an outskirt of Tokyo, and encourage you to check that out. It's called Yamato, California. How did the setting of Nagoya came about, and where does your interest for, you know, these other cities in Japan come from?
Yes, so I live in a city called Yamato, which is like amazingly boring, and there's nothing to film. So that was my problem as a filmmaker. My hometown is like, you know, amazingly boring, and I can't film my hometown. But after the earthquake, the big earthquake, I decided to film it anyway, although it's like so boring and it has nothing. But I figured out, oh, in the center of my hometown, there was a big US base, still like colonized by US Army. And then I started to love my city after filming it. And so I've been filming in Yamato for like 10 years after that. But my last film is called Videophobia, which was shot in Osaka, the second biggest city in Japan. And Osaka is like really interesting because it's still old and you could film everywhere. But like Nagoya is between Osaka and Tokyo, right in the center. And it has lots of Toyota factories, but that's it. And it's boring as Yamato, so I thought maybe this would be a good place to film. And also, actually, I'm teaching at a university of Nagoya, which invested for this film too. So that was the reason I decided to film Nagoya. But this is a secret, but I really hated the city of Nagoya until the shooting. It's like the most like worst city in Japan was my image, but after filming I started kind of like to like it.
And there's this great juxtaposition between the city and Tokyo, and you know, how is it still true that people just kind of find their way into Tokyo?
Yeah, and everyone just goes to Tokyo, and then like let's say film industry, there's no industry outside Tokyo, so everyone just goes to Tokyo, and so Tokyo is a bunch of like you know like rednecks and hillbillies, but somehow they identify themselves like a really like cool city boy, but they're all like rednecks. But yes, everyone goes to Tokyo, and there's no way of like living without going to Tokyo. You have to like become a farmer or something if you don't live in Tokyo, or work at a Toyota factory. So that's the reality of Japan now.
And there's so much also in the film about kind of, I think I see, and there's the Budweiser label that literally says "wasted youth."
Yeah.
I feel like, I feel like you tried to capture a lot of that sort of sense of leaving your hometown, or leaving the place where your hopes and dreams were, and then maybe not finding them, and somehow made that about a band.
Yeah, the thing is like, so since the Olympic Games, the center of Tokyo, and let's say Yamato and Nagoya, is becoming like almost the same. It's becoming like boring as the same. And it's the same with New York, I will say. And I'll say Berlin will become the same in like 5 or 10 years. So every city is becoming like so boring and so flat, is what I was feeling. So she thinks Tokyo's gonna be cool, but she figures out it's the same as Nagoya. It's boring and the same. And he thinks he wants to go back to Tokyo, but he comes back after a while and then figures out, oh my God, it's the same as Nagoya. It's so boring, and it's all H&M and McDonald's everywhere. Yeah.
And how does COVID figure into that? How much has Japan changed since?
Probably people might not know, but Japanese people have this like certain social distance all the time. They don't tell each other their like honest feelings, or you know, they never like hug each other, or they hardly shake hands, you know. But they bow because they don't want to shake hands. And that kind of a distance became more like wider because of COVID, and this, how do you call it, like violence atmosphere is kind of spreading after COVID, like this stress, like I want to hit someone, or like I want to punch someone, kind of a, like a, you know, like, air is all around Tokyo is what I feel. And now there's like, let's say 50% of the people walking are like tourists, and Japanese people don't feel good about that. They still have like high pride that like we're a really like, what you say, developed country, but we're not anymore. But there's lots of foreigners, and then this distance and COVID is, I think, making people very isolated and very angry and very sad. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you got some of that. I want to open up to the audience, but I'm going to ask one last question, which is, who's the narrator at the end?
So he's the narrator from the how do you call it? The opening space.
It's a planet lead.
Yeah, it's the voice from the planet room, but it's the voice from tourism too. So
Yeah.
it's like the space child. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? We'd love to hear from you. No mics, unfortunately, for the audience, but please project.
When you're doing the open street scenes with just normal public, do you have to close the streets off, or you just sort of?
It kind of depends, but basically my style is to like just film it, even if it's not prohibited. And the producers were really angry because I suddenly started shooting everywhere. But my filming is, I think, is like a document of like that time and that generation and that era. So I don't want to fake like the street. So basically I try to like film what was there. But did you remember when they start talking about breaking up? Like, oh, I decided to quit school. And first of all, they didn't have a mask, but people with mask is like coming in the later half. The shot was like too long than I expected, so normal like people came in after the extras. So actually everyone had to have masks, but I kind of made no mask people walking, extras walking first, but there were not enough people, so normal people came in, and it kind of became like an interesting transit inside one shot is what I saw. Yeah, but usually yes, I do just suddenly not spy camera, but film the street, and I really love that style. My recent film, I couldn't do that because the sponsor was a little bit big, and everyone was like extra, and I really didn't feel like it's my film on the street.
What sort of budget did you have on that?
This one?
Yeah.
This one is like gigantic for me, but let's say 300,000, I think.
Yeah.
No, dollar, US dollar.
US dollar.
Yeah.
So my limited understanding of Japanese cinema is mostly through like, genre horror sort of stuff, which has its own thing famously, but there was that whole explosion of like United States popular culture into Japan from the 80s onwards. And the way I've read about sort of your work and had your work described to me, and love tourism too, by the way, would you say that your work is sort of representative of an emerging, or maybe like a Japanese kind of new wave kind of thing? And if so, do you have any colleagues, contemporaries, influences you'd like to talk about?
My generation is like the generation who was taught by, let's say, Kurosawa Kiyoshi or Aoyama Shinji, who passed and who I used the movie inside the movie. Let's say, who else? Koreda Hirokazu says good things on the TV, but he never teaches us. And who else? But anyway, my generation, let's say, Hamaguchi, Ryusuke Hamaguchi is like the most famous of my generation. He's a little bit older than me, but colleague-wise, I'm not sure. I'm just doing my thing as Crocodile Dundee. And yes, I think Japanese culture is the subconscious of Japan is China, but the ultra conscious of Japan is USA. And very interesting thing is that Japanese people don't care about USA right now. 20 years ago, people treated USA as like God, but now they only concentrate on like Korean culture, and they don't give a shit about US. But the reality is, the army is everywhere in Japan, and violence is like the extreme point where human beings go. So still, US is like a really big thing for us, is what I think. And all the political things they decide, we can't decide by ourselves. So we're a little bit like Vietnam. And that kind of a thing people don't describe anymore and forget, but I kind of want to still show it in my movie, that the American culture that we love, that is like against power and capitalism and stuff, and the American government and the politics which we hate and we do not like, is what I kind of want to show. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions from the audience? Yeah.
Yeah, you said that you hated Nagoya before you filmed, and then you found some beauty within the city while you filmed. So I was wondering what sort of beauty you found within the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and then my second
Yeah,
question is
yeah.
a more tiny question.
Yeah.
When I was watching the credits, I noticed next to the names there were little stars
Yeah,
and
yeah,
numbers
yeah.
between them, and
Yeah.
I was wondering what that was as well.
Okay, so for the Nagoya question, so first of all, Nagoya's food is like amazingly bad. It's like only bad food in Japan is what I think. But it's very salty and it's very greasy, but I kind of figured out it's kind of good if you get used to it. And I don't know, like humans are humans, so wherever you go, it doesn't depend on the city. But the funny thing is, Nagoya used to be like a really famous war zone because it's in the middle of Japan. So there were like millions of kings fighting in Nagoya. So they tend to fake each other or like tell lies to each other. That's why it's said in Japan. Nagoya people like fake people. But anyways, I figured out there are still good people. And about the stars, besides the credit, is so they're the students from the university I teach. They're like alumni. So yes, I try to use them in my shooting. Yes.
Any more questions? Yeah.
I imagine that the provision of the music to use came at no cost on that budget.
Actually, after the film finished, the musician told me, director, we're not paid yet, and the producer ran away, so what can you do for us? So I said, I'm sorry, so I'll try to find money somewhere, and yeah, still it's going on, I think. But we're really good friends. The producers ran away, but me and the musicians are really good friends. Yeah.
And I feel like the music, there were some original music that you used, and there were some that you composed for the scenes. Were they also done by the same band? And
Yes,
so,
it was all by the same band, and the music when the main character kind of decides to U-turn his car and go back, that part's music was a different song with like a, like a lyric in it. But the musician said we should like not have any lyric in this scene, and decided to make like a totally original song for that. And I said it's a little bit like a Kitano movie, so is this okay at the studio? But after watching it, I thought it worked perfectly. Yes, like this cloud rock kind of repeating. Yes.
and it sounds like the band also had a lot of input in the music. What was it like directing them
Like-
as composers?
It's really interesting because Idekensuke, the leader of Exekedi, considers himself like a producer of the band or the director of the band. So he teaches, he asks his members like, I want to sound like T-Rex or like David Bowie or something like that. And then they come up with the song and he kind of mixes it up. And my job as a director is like the same, right? So there were like two directors in the movie was the interesting thing. Yes.
I want to pull maybe on the thread that you were asking about, which is the sort of connection between American culture, post-war and all of that, and obviously the sort of psych rock that is such a big part of the film.
Yeah.
You mentioned T-Rex, Bowie. There's all these sort of classic, what in America we call like classic rock influences. How do you explain the sort of resurgence of that? Because I feel like in 2020, like in the 2020s, it's like Japanese psych rock really kind of dominates. That area. So how would you explain that?
I think like Japanese music scene kind of developed very differently from any other country, and we have a strong respect to like especially 60s and 70s US music and UK music, and the generation that was influenced by it is kind of coming up now. And yes, when I went to US and they asked me what kind of music do you like, and I said punk, and I said like what? They said what kind of punk? And I said like I like the Crash and the Sex Pistols, and they said like oh that's the old rock is what they said. But anyways, yes, Japanese like old rock a lot, and we are influenced a lot, and we have this strange development. But psychedelic rock, it's very weird for me too, but it's big, and the guy who produced.
Emergency.
That's a fire alarm.
Evacuate now. Evacuate as directed. Evacuate as directed.
Is this real?
Yeah.
Emergency.
I guess so. Maybe we should choose that. Thank you so much. This was Plastic. Give it up for nice to meet you.
I understand what you mean by like cities are all going to be the same, but I have much more like positive. At least I think I have to force myself to be positive, and then the form itself is much more violent. But it's raining.
You should do a two-shot here. This thing. You should include the rain and the word Oji.
Just go stand over there.
You're spinning it today, right?
Yeah.
When is the next one?
Tomorrow.
I'll run into the Claire and get us some umbrellas.
Why? Where are we going?
To event.
What event?
To event cinemas.
Oh, it's a different cinema.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I thought it was the same one.
Okay.
Let me double check. Yeah,
Do you want me to run to the Eau Claire?
if you want, yeah. I mean, if you can. Get the big one and the small one.
Okay.
What time tomorrow?
I think it's 7.
7.
Yeah.
7 in line, right?
7 today, and tomorrow is like 1 something.
1 in the noon?
Yeah.
Okay.
So tomorrow is here. And then
Oh,
today
tomorrow
is
is there. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Stop filming! Stop filming! I want to introduce you.
Daisuke says I can't stop.
Pearl, Winnie, Pearl.
Hi.
Summer.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Pearl and Daisuke are kind of making a thing about this whole thing. So.
And Daisuke gave me a lot of shit for cutting too early, so now I'm afraid to cut.
Just keep it rolling.
How far is the cinema?
Yeah, you don't all have to come to see.
Sure.
It was in Cannes. It's a Korean horror movie about
You should go.
about a couple.
It's great.
Yeah, it's two people, it's a two-hander, very resourceful, very cool. The entire budget clearly went to the 2 actors.
Okay, I'm in.
They have I don't know.
Okay, I guess I'll go get an umbrella for you.
Let's boogie because we'll be late.
Okay. You wanna go?
But 5 more people. But you wanna see them coming out?